It's a well-known fact that life feeds off of life. That is just the way this universe works, at least in our 3D realm, and perhaps there's good evidence that it even goes on past this 3D and into the 4D. So we see this. It's something that is obvious as we look at this child feeding the goats. And of course, babies need their milk or their formula. Better off with mother's milk. But still, life feeds off of life. And we enjoy and we celebrate many events with meals and wonderful family get-togethers. Even if you are a breatharian, living off of prana, chi, ki, vril, you're still living off of life. Where does that come from? Well, it comes from the air we breathe, and it comes from the earth itself. So even if we're not eating any solid food, and we are a breatharian, and I know there's many of you who think that's just an impossibility, you're still living off of life. We're still living off of the life force from various sources. There's a term called loosh. This is a key term, a term applied to energy produced by human beings and animals that other entities use to feed from, energy that is produced by suffering. There's some info on this by Robert Monroe, as well as other people as well. Everything around us, on so many different levels, all feeding off of something else in one way, shape, or form. There are entities in a very close density to us, the lower astral plane, that are known to feed off the energy of humans, as well as other animals as well. And so these entities feed off of negative emotions. And we are human batteries. We are all batteries of a sort. We're all basically putting off energy all day long, every day. And many of us are not even aware of the energies we're putting off, or the fact that we're being manipulated into putting off particular frequencies of energies. And some of these frequencies are those that would actually feed these energies the best. And so the lower astral realm is the lowest part of the astral realm, and that's the part where these negative entities, whether we call them demons and, different dark demonic spirits, sometimes the spirits of humans that have not moved on into the higher planes of existence, they will feed off of people, and they will feed off of us in many different ways through different manipulations. They could also feed off of the sexual energy, very much so. And for those that are intuitive and psychic, you might be able to sense them. Often they're just standing there looking at you. They might be looking at you this very moment as you're watching this. And so we have to be very careful about the energies that we put off. When we put off these lower energies, it feeds them. When we put off higher energies, those of love and compassion, they don't have a food source. So that is why these beings that, there's so many different terms for these beings, so many different classifications of these beings. In medical Qigong, there's more than a chapter talking about different classifications of different beings you might run into when you're doing energy work. And make no mistake about it, they're around us all the time. If we tap into the higher emotions, stay in the better frequencies, the higher frequencies, which are things like love and compassion, and radiate that, it negates their ability to influence us. And so they hate that. And that is why we have so many problems on this planet. Whether we call them interdimensional, extraterrestrial, demons, whatever you want to use, they're all beings that feed off of human energy and also animal energy as well. So one of the things that they use to control us and to give themselves a food source is never-ending wars. And while to humans involved, this may be a war over resources, political ideas, control, war to extend an empire, a war that's just about all the lower baser energies. And many of these humans do not realize that really why the wars are happening is that they are controlled by these energies, these entities that have them creating a banquet for them. Because that's what these wars are. They're a banquet, they're a feast, they're a gathering. They are such an energetic buffet for these beings. And the humans that are creating these wars don't realize that honestly they're just nothing but tools. Many of them don't. Some realize that they are nothing but tools for these forces that are manipulating them, manipulating the planet, and controlling our reality. So when we feel things like anger and rage, we are feeding them. So when the media is playing to racial division, when they're playing to basically different acts of terrorism, when they're playing to all these different things that get us upset, that lower our energies, that get us even ready at times to just lash out at others, what they're doing is they're creating food for these entities. And these entities are able to control people's minds, and they get in there and they will control them, and they will make them do things that maybe they normally would not do. And we are all always surrounded by these entities. They're all around us. However, if we are living a life that is one of compassion, one of a true desire for peace, and cultivating that peace within you, then you are starting to get outside of their reach. You are really out of their reach energetically. So often, as is what's happening to so many people right now, you will find yourself attacked by these entities when they can, and also by the manipulated human hosts that they control. And so we have to realize that these feelings too, such as guilt, depression, and feeling bad, feeling hopeless, they feed these entities. So the best thing we could do is to get out of all these negative emotions. Anger, depression, guilt, and shame are the product of thinking that is at the base of violence on our planet. It's all part of it. This is how we're manipulated. We're manipulated to feel guilty about things that we shouldn't feel guilty about. Societal norms are often given to us in order to create disharmony, in order to create feelings of guilt and shame. And yet also, we are also nudged to perhaps do things that we shouldn't do, which, well, again, will end up causing these feelings, all these negative emotions. This is very real, and I think this is really the core issue that we have going on, and everything else really stems from it. Parasites on the loose. This is interesting. So we have to understand and realize that we are an energy source for some form of interdimensional, multidimensional parasite. And so this thinking is becoming more and more predominant. And again, I go back to why were all the Gnostic texts destroyed? You know, we talk about Christian persecution, but when we look at it, especially from 325 AD on, the persecution was of the Gnostics and all those that would not conform. And so there's reasons for that, because if we understand our inherent power within us, then we're going to be able to break free from their ability to basically wrap us in their tentacles. They're like ticks and leeches, attach themselves onto us, drain us of our life force, and just suck us dry. So it's fascinating because in Gnosticism we have something called the Archons, and these beings are pretty powerful beings, and it's all about control. It's all about energetic parasitism, if there is such a word, and manipulation. But ultimately, we are connected to Source. We are multidimensional beings that are on the way to a realm which is higher up than they are. And there's many that have come out and talked about this situation. And, the Gnostic Archonic explanation is a very good one, very, very close. And one of my closest sources that's actually right in the middle of so many big political names and really understands what goes on at their levels, has said when I asked, what would you say the world situation is most closely like? They said, well, actually, it's probably closest to what the Gnostics believe, the Gnostic interpretation. Because, there are Archons, and these Archons are very, at the top level, they're very, very powerful beings, and there's others working underneath them. And of course, we looked at one of the photos, Greys are just one subcategory, as well as some reptilians like the Draco. And then the thought is, too, at one of the highest levels, it's truly an AI, a form of AI, on a very, very big scope. But below this, these parasitic forces, they do manage us. And they herd us into this hive mentality, and they've created this never-ending planet that is full of nothing but war. It's just this never-ending loop of war and negative emotions, and it's because this is what feeds them. And so when we realize this, like Buddha had his realization, and we realize we can escape that, it's just simply by going up to where they can't go, moving up to a higher vibration, a higher frequency. The war is on. And so, those of you that are always talking about demons, yes, there are what we would call demonic entities. Absolutely. Not all of them are demons, but there are definitely what we would call demonic entities, and we could also use the term archonic entities as well. These entities that feed off of this negative emotion. And, I just love how this is titled, Trawling the Farm for Human Energy. In many ways, living on planet Earth is like living on a human farm, because these dark energies are just cultivating this. They're cultivating this. And as we get closer to the truth, sometimes they have massive die-offs, and they orchestrate that. It's just like cutting cancer out of the body in a sense. It's like in order to maintain the body, you have to cut it out. Of course, with them, everything is completely inverse. And many people have had lucid dreaming where you could control your dreams. The first time it happened to me that I really, really remember and was significant was in 5th grade. And I had a dream. I was running down the street a block away from my home, and there was like a herd of zombies coming after me. They were all coming after me, and I couldn't run fast enough. And so I changed it in my dream and just started to have fun, just basically knocking off the zombies in my dream and taking the upper hand. If we're being controlled by fear, and the like, you might experience the lower astral plane. And the lower astral plane is where all your goblins and ghosts and demons and scary things are going to be. This is where the ticks and leeches live. This is their home. So when we're talking about all the different views of hell, this is what we're talking about. It's the lower. So the upper astral plane is much more beautiful and very desirable. So we are a multidimensional being operating on many different levels, as we see the different levels here. So we are going through a vibratory change on this planet. Just look at the Schumann resonance. It's changing. It's going upwards. So the thought is we may already be beginning to transverse the lower astral plane. So some of these entities might become more solid, more obviously visible to us, and might be able to influence us unless we push our vibrations to a higher level, unless we lift ourselves up into a much higher level of consciousness where they cannot bother us. And there's biblical passages talking about Satan being loosed on earth for a short time as we travel through this plane of existence. So when we look deeper, we could see this. And ultimately, those that are able to work past the lower vibrations and clear themselves of negative energies, clear themselves of judgmental thinking, clear themselves of fatalistic negative thinking, clear themselves of the guilt and the shame, because that is part of it too. If you are controlled by guilt, you're not going to be able to get past this. You're not going to be able to get out of this. The same thing. We must lift ourselves up. That is the key, critical thing in these times. And that is the key to actually manifesting a new world with a much higher level of existence and understanding the unity that underlies everything. These beings are doing their best to hold on to us because, we are their source of food. We are, you can look at it as we are their livestock. And of course, they look at most of us can't think for ourselves, and they've conditioned us through many ways. And we are conditioned by the media, by society, by our teachers, by our parents, unfortunately, in many cases as well, and by our religious authorities. And just ask yourself, is this teaching, is this philosophy, is this line of thinking, is this making me raise upwards? Do I feel happier? Do I feel uplifted? And am I taking a point of view where I recognize the divinity that lies in all and trying to help lift everybody up? Because that's going to be the key for not being louche for these different beings and not taking part, not being the food on the plate at their buffet. As always, my friends, stay safe, stay happy, stay prepared.
So, to sum up, the closest people to you, things that happen on a day-to-day basis that lowers you down, which could take anything that removes peace from you, is food. They can also feed on happiness. So the best place to try and stay is neutral. And it's always a copy and paste situation, i.e., they're not original. So the attacks will be the same. The closest people to you are always used. And you also have to be very careful on your belief systems and what people tell you. It doesn't mean you're going to put your head in the sand and say, oh, love and light. It means if someone knows thyself, because ye are gods, and you don't, they can manipulate you into their bubble of reality. And if you look at it on a grand scale, that's what happens. No one wants to do shadow work. Everyone wants a guru or a religion to tell them what to do, and therefore they're lambs to the slaughter. So once you're aware of what's going on, it makes it a bit easier, I guess. And everything is basically food. So people will say, well, we eat animals, so it's only fair that they eat our food, right? Does that mean that we shouldn't eat meat? No, you can't be forced to not eat meat. Some people have to eat meat depending on their blood types. So you just have to take every day as it comes. Every day, cleanse yourself spiritually, physically, raise your frequency up. That could be going for a walk, swimming, gym, meditation. There's not just meditation sitting in a corner looking at a wall for 3 hours. There's different types of meditation. And there's different things that lower your frequency. But the main ones are thoughts. A lot of the thoughts are not our own. They're negative thought forms that have been projected onto us. And then we believe that they're ours, and therefore you can manifest that. And this is what the problem is. You have a grand scale of people believing in thoughts that are not theirs, or brainwashing programs that they have been told from youth or installed in them, and therefore they bring it to pass. Turn the TV off. If you think that I don't want that in my reality, don't watch it or entertain the fuckeries. Peace, shalom. And stop going around saying God bless people, because that means dog be less. And remove any welcome mats from your door, because that also means that anyone or anything is welcome to your well, which is a life force energy. The whole English language is full of spells. Even hello, hell, black, be lack, bless, be less, dog, be less. Same shit. Peace.